Alright, in recitation 2, we're going to start solving some questions. I'm going to start with verifying and evaluating. I want to say that we solved this before. Instead of cosine, there was sine. So it's all a matter of memorizing the steps, and you can solve any similar question. So let's start by writing the question here, cosine n. So in the formula, I see cosine n minus 1, which means that they split cosine n into cosine n minus 1 times cosine. This is exactly the same as cosine n because we add the powers when we multiply. So n minus 1 plus 1 is n. Okay, so how do we continue? We use integration by parts. So we have two parts here. U is equal to cosine n minus 1, while cosine, which is v prime, is equal to cosine. The derivative of cosine minus 1 is n minus 1. We drop the power, then cosine, the power minus 1, so n minus 1 minus 1, which is minus 2, times the derivative of cosine, which is sine, negative sine. So we put the negative outside here. Okay, so the integration of cosine is simply sine. It's the opposite. So now apply the formula, which is uv prime, which is cosine n, equal to uv, which is sine cosine n minus 1, minus the integration of, we have a negative here, so we can cancel the negative. It will be positive. So n minus 1 cosine n minus 2 times sine. Sine times sine is sine squared. And now the problem is here. We need to integrate. So first of all, I'm going to write this here. N minus 1 cosine n minus 2 times sine squared. N minus 1 can go outside since it's a constant. And sine squared can be rewritten as 1 minus cosine squared. And what I'll do now is I'll multiply. So cosine minus 2 times 1 and then times cosine squared, yeah. So cosine n minus 2 minus cosine squared times cosine n minus 2, we add the powers. So minus 2 plus 2 is simply cosine n. Okay, and then I'll distribute the n minus 1. So it's going to be n minus 1 cosine n minus 2 minus n minus 1 integration of cosine n. Great. So I'll replace this with what we had before. Okay. So right here. So I'm going to erase this here. And we found it to be, spaced it, make it smaller. Okay. So now you need to open your eyes. I see cosine n on the right and on the left as well. So what we'll do is that I will move this to the left. So it's going to be cosine n. Since this is minus, it's going to become plus n minus 1 cosine n. Great. So in order to add these two together, we have a variable of 1 here and n minus 1 here. So what's going to happen is that it's going to be 1 minus plus n minus 1. So there's 1 and minus 1. We can cancel it. So what remains is n. So we can delete all this and replace 1 by n. Great. Now I'll rewrite here. So sine times cosine n minus 1 plus n minus 1 cosine n minus 2. There's still a problem of cosine n minus 2. However, if you look at the formula, which is here, you'll still see it. So what they did is they kept it. So we'll keep it as well. So the question wants cosine n, so we'll have to remove n here. So divide n both sides. And the final answer will be 1 over n cosine n minus 1 times sine plus n minus 1 over n integration of cosine n minus 2 plus c. And this is your answer. Now we need to verify this. We need to evaluate, sorry. So we have 6 as n. So they chose cosine power 6, so n is equal to 6. Okay, so let's do this. I'm just gonna replace here. I'm gonna copy this and make it smaller. Okay, so let's replace. We have cosine power 6, so it's gonna be 1 over 6 cosine 6 minus 1, which is cosine power 5, times sine, plus n minus 1, which is 6 minus 1, 5 over n, 6, integration of cosine n minus 2, which is 4, plus c. The problem is we have cosine power 4 again, integration. So all I'm going to do is we have 4 as n now. So n is equal to 4. So I'm going to use exactly the same formula. I'm going to replace this though. So it's equal to 1 over 4 cosine 4 minus 1, which is 3, times sine, plus n minus 1, which is 4 minus 1, 3 over 4, integration of cosine n minus 2, which is 2. Again, we have an integration of cosine squared. So this time n is equal to 2. So I'm going to replace this with 1 over 2 cosine, just cosine, okay, times sine, plus n minus 1, which is 1 over 2, and the integration of cosine 2 minus 2, which is 0. Cosine power 0 is 1, and the integration of 1 is x, so it's going to be plus half x. Okay, now I'm going to replace. So I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. So this will be erased and this will be erased and replaced. Okay, so let's replace here. All right, and this is the answer, plus c. And that's it. Next question. We have the integration of ln 3 root x. All right, so the first thing is I cannot integrate this. So what I'll do is I'll multiply by 1 so I can use the integration by parts. I have now 2 parts and I can integrate. So u will be ln 3 root x, while v prime will equal to 1. Now we can rewrite this as ln x power 1 over 3. 1 over 3 can also drop down, so it's going to be ln x times 1 over 3. Okay, let's rewrite this here. So 1 over 3 ln x. Okay, so du will be 1 over 3, ln x will be 1 over x. So 1 over 3 times 1 over x is 1 over 3x. And the integration of 1 is simply x. Okay, apply the formula. It's going to be uv prime, so which is the question, ln 3 root x, equal to uv, which is 1 over 3 x times ln x, minus the integration of x over 3 root x, 3x, which will be 1 over 3, and the integration of 1 over 3 is 1 over 3x, 1 over 3x. Great, I see 1 over 3x on both sides, so I can simplify. 1 over 3x will be 1 times ln x minus 1. And this is your answer, plus c. All right, next. We have arcsin ln x over x. Correct. So the first thing I noticed is ln x over x. Whenever I see ln x over x, I take ln x to be u. I substitute. So u is ln x, because this way I can cancel the x. So du is 1 over x, and dx is x. So what's going to happen is, when we write it, arcsin ln x is u over x times dx, which is x. I cancel the x's. Okay? So I need to integrate arcsin of u now. Okay, so I'll multiply by 1 again. So I can have 2 parts. And now I integrate. So u will be arcsin of u, and v prime will equal to 1. Du, or u prime, is, you should know this, it's 1 over radical 1 minus x squared. And the integration is simply u, okay, since we chose u to be x. Okay, so u squared here instead of x. Okay, so apply the formula. It's going to be first the question, which is integration of sine -1 of u equal to uv, which is u sine -1 of u minus the integration of u over 1 minus u squared. Problem is here, we need to remove the integration. So I'm gonna rewrite this here. Okay. So first, I'll take this as u, because I can envision. Hold on, where's the root? Got to add the root here. Okay, I can envision that 1 minus u squared can cancel the u at the top, because this is u squared, and then it's going to be 2u. 2u will cancel the u here. So let's do that. So u is, actually we need another letter now. So let's choose w is equal to 1 minus u squared. So dw will be 2u, negative 2u, and du will equal to 1 over negative 2u. So let's rewrite it. It's going to be u over radical w times 1 over negative 2u. We can cancel the u here, and negative half can go outside. Okay, so negative half goes outside. And now we need to integrate 1 over radical w. So 1 over radical w is just 1 over w power half. We can take the half out. It's going to be 1 over negative half. And now we integrate, meaning that we add 1 and then divide by the whole thing, plus 1 over negative half plus 1 as well. So the top will be w half and the bottom will be half. We can simplify. It's going to be 2w, and half is simply radical. So it's 2 radical w. So what this is negative half and 2 radical w. Great. We can cancel the 2 here because there's 2 outside and inside over each other. So what it really is negative root w. Great. We just replace this whole thing by negative root w. Okay, let me erase. Okay, so negative root w. Okay, we have 2 negatives, so we can make it a positive plus root w, and then what? We need to replace the letters. Okay, so u becomes Linux. We chose u to be Linux, and arcsin also Linux. As for the w, we chose it to be 1 minus u squared, and u is Linux. So it's going to be 1 minus ln x squared plus c. And this is your answer. All right, so next question. Linux between 0 and 1. Always leave the between till the end. So I'm going to do is just solve ln x squared plus 1 and 0 at 1 and 1 at the end. Okay, so to find this integration, multiply by 1, so we can have 2 parts, and solve by integration by parts. So we'll have u as ln x squared plus 1. So u is ln x squared plus 1, and v prime is equal to 1. Derivative is, okay, so we know that ln x of f of x, whatever is inside, is f of prime of x over f of x. Okay, so what's going to happen is it's going to be 2x, x squared plus 1. The derivative is 2x over x squared plus 1. All right, so let's rewrite it here. Okay, so, and v prime, the integration will simply be x. So perform the formula, which will be first the question, which is the integration of ln x squared plus 1 is equal to uv, so x ln x squared plus 1 minus the integration of 2x times x, 2x squared over x squared plus 1. So we need to solve this here. So what's going to happen is we can remove 2 first. Okay, so this one, we can remove it. It's going to go outside. And then the difference between the top and the bottom is just plus 1. So I'm going to do is add and subtract. Okay, and in order to add plus 1, we have to have the same denominator. Minus 1x squared plus 1. Great. Because adding and subtracting will give you the same answer. Just like I said in one of the videos, 3 minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 all the time. Okay, so let me continue here. So 2x squared plus 1 here, so it's going to be plus 1 minus 1x squared plus 1. So this will be 1. Let me not cancel it here. So it's going to be 1 minus 1x squared plus 1. Great. So now we integrate. So integration of 1 is simply x minus the integration of 1 over x squared plus 1. You should open your eyes on this one. It's rewritten as 1 plus x squared, which is arctangent, okay? So this is arctangent with 2. Don't forget the 2 here. We're gonna, distribute the 2. So let me rewrite this. So copy, then I'm gonna delete the whole thing. Okay, so where we will replace, we're gonna place right here. Okay, so delete, gonna replace here. This is where we start. Okay, so remember that negative is for both here. So the final answer will be ln x squared plus 1 minus 2x plus 2 arc tangent plus c. And this is your answer. Alright, as I said, there's 0 and 1 at the end. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna 0, 1. Okay, so you're gonna replace x and 0 and you're gonna have an answer. Okay, so now next question. We solved this, I think. We solved this, right? Yeah, it's right here. So basically just replace, okay, whatever the question was, replace e and 1. So e first and then minus, find the answer. Alright, so next question. Okay, so we just have to apply some rules here and we're gonna find the answer. So let's analyze the powers here. We have an odd power here as well. It's odd. So we're gonna go to the PowerPoint. You should know this though, okay? But I'm gonna get help from the PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint is in the description again. So let's check. So this one is any, and this is even. This one is odd, and this is any. By any, I mean odd or even. So this one is definitely not what we have because this has an even, which we don't have. And this one should be it because it has an odd and any. Can be odd or even. Okay, so let's apply the one in the green. So first of all, we have to change tan to x plus 1 to tan squared. So it's going to be tan squared, power the rest. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Secant cubed. Next is you remove from 3 one more. So basically it's going to become tan squared times tan. And as well here, secant cubed, secant n minus 1. So this will be squared times secant. Alright, you will see why we're doing this. So, first, what do we do next? We change tan squared. So tan squared becomes secant cubed minus 1 squared times secant squared times tan times secant. Now, we take u as secant x. So secant x. Let's take du, which is secant times tan, and dx would be 1 over this whole thing. Okay, great. So now, let's rewrite this. It's going to be u squared minus 1 squared times u squared times tan times secant. I kept secant here because I want to cancel it with this dx. We multiply by dx at the end, right? And dx is 1 over secant times tan. And this cancels with these two. Great, so we have this left. So, in order to expand this, we use a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So what's going to happen is that it's going to be u power 4 minus 2 times 1 times u squared, so 2u squared, plus b squared, which is 1 squared, which is basically 1. And then this times u squared. So it's going to become u power 4 times u power 2 is u power 6, minus 2u power 4 plus u squared. Great, now integrate. U power 6 becomes u power 7 over 7 minus 2u power 5 over 5 plus u power 3 over 3. I would like to write from the least to greatest. So u power 3 over 3 minus 2u power 5 over 5 plus u power 7 over 7 plus c, and this is your answer. Okay, however, we need to change u, right? We cannot keep letters. So what did we choose u to be? We chose it to be secant. So what it's gonna be is secant cubed over 3 minus 2, let me raise these, u power 5, which is secant power 5 over 5, plus secant power 7 over 7 plus c. Alright, so next question is sine nx cosine mx. Okay, let's have some space. So I'm going to write this as sine A times cosine B, where A is nx and B is mx. Great. So let's go to the PowerPoint and 7th slide. Just find the formula here. So sine A cosine B, this is it. So we're going to use this formula. So let me copy it. Okay, place it here and then just write it. So let's rewrite it. So we have integration of half sine A minus B, so sine nx minus mx plus, let me take this down, so plus A plus B sine A plus B, which is nx plus mx. Okay, and now let's take x outside, so and half outside as well. Half integration of sine x is common n minus m plus sine x n plus m. Great. So now we integrate. So let's integrate sine x. Integration of sine x is negative cosine, so it's going to be half negative cosine x and minus m, and then we divide by what's inside, right? We divide by what's inside of this. So it's going to be divide n minus m. So plus sine is also negative cosine, so let's take a negative as well, plus negative cosine x n plus m, and then divide by what's inside, which is also n plus m. Okay, so now we integrated already, so remove this. Okay, and now let's distribute the half. So negative cosine x n minus m over n minus m times 2, and then plus negative cosine x n plus m over 2 times n plus m. Okay, and now we use it to evaluate. What do we use it to evaluate? We use it to evaluate sine ax cosine 5x. Okay, so let's use this formula here to solve this. Okay, so n is equal to 8 while m is equal to 5, right? So let's just replace negative cosine x n minus m, which is 3 over 2 times n minus m. N minus m is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. So plus negative cosine x 8 plus 5, 13 over 13 as well, times 2, which is 26. And this is your answer. That's it.